I recorded the video portion of this Shanghai World Trade Center quick video to show how to create the shape of the building, the mass, and to apply faces. And now I'm putting the audio in to show you how to create something similar to this form, and you can tweak it if you like. So the first thing I did was start a mass conceptual file, and I have the project here to the right hand side. I'm going to draw on that first level a rectangle that's going to represent the base of this tower, and then I'll escape out or click on the modify button or right click and pick cancel, all those different options to get out of that drawing mode. And then if you hold your shift key and your control key down together and then select this level, you can pull your mouse up and copy that level. I'm just going to copy it up here somewhere so that I can now click on it and click on the dimension and make it as tall as you'd like. I think I made it 800 feet, but the actual building is 1600 plus feet. So if I select that level and I pick set to set that work plane, and then I pick show and viewer, then inside the viewer I'll be able to see that rectangle that I drew and use regular lines to draw that small top roof that's up at the top. There's a small rectangle to represent the top piece. And this is just one way of drawing this building. There could be other ways too. Just want to make sure that these are closed shapes when you draw these profiles. And now I can close out of the viewer and select these two by holding my control key down. I can select the top one, hold my control key down, select the bottom one, and use create form to create this form. Now it's not exact yet. I've created several versions of this in a different file and found that the best way to get that piece that comes down into a point there is to select the model. You may have to use your tab key to select the whole model and pick X-ray. And by picking X-ray, you can kind of see through this tower. And then if I select this edge here and pick add an edge, I tried to add an edge right on top of the other edge so that I could modify it, but I just found that I had to zoom real close and create an edge that's very close to the existing one. And so now I'm going to keep the bottom part together, but the top part, I can select that small blue dot for the grip and then drag it slightly to the left, and what happens is it creates this arrow that's pretty straight along that top edge. And now I can continue to use the arrow to pull my mouse towards the left. So I'm creating another edge, but it's not exact, so over here at the corner I have to do a little bit of playing around with that small dot there, grip, to pull it back into place, because I'm basically creating another profile, another edge. And I want to try to get it as close as I can to the other corner. At this point, it's better to hold your shift key down and kind of orbit around to make sure that it actually is getting close to that edge. It might look like it is, but it might be higher or back away from it. So you might have to tweak this a little bit if you decide to use this method. You see now I can use the arrow to bring it closer to that corner. And what that does is it actually creates another piece of geometry that I can use. Along that one piece that was curving. Now I know I can tweak it a little bit more if you wanted a finer point in the front, but I'll do the same thing here for the back side. Select here the solid, add an edge, and add another edge to the back corner. Go through that same process of dragging that little point over to the left a little, and you can see by the back side that I could tweak that even more. I'd have to hold my shift key in orbit and my wheel of my mouse in orbit over there to kind of fix that back there a little bit. In the overall model, it won't make that much of a difference once we start to apply the faces. Now the form looks somewhat similar in its structure, and I'm going to create here a void. So I tabbed to select the model and I took the X-ray off. And now if you hold your shift and your control key, you can copy that top reference plane down to where the base of this void or this hole at the top of this skyscraper would be. So I adjusted a little bit by dragging it down, and then I'm going to set that level current. So select it and pick set. And I like to pick show just to show me that, you know, that's where I'm at. You can save the file. So now I'm ready to use a regular line to draw what would be the base of that hole or that void. And once I do that, I can select that rectangle. I used lines to create it, and then instead of using create form solid form, I used here void. And now before you click out of it, you can select the surface of that void and use those arrows to make it as high as you need for the opening, and then maybe use the tab key to select the edge. You might not need to use the tab key. You might be able to click right on the edge and then use those arrows to pull the edges to the left and the right to create that shape. And now you can click in space and it will create that void. We're ready now to create a Revit file. We can create a new one using the default template. There are a lot of different templates that we can use. A new project, and pick the browse button here to select that default template. And we want to bring it into the 3D view. So I use the little house icon at the top to go to the 3D view, and then Control Tab will bring you back to the plan view. You can close out of that. So now you have two things open, your mass file and your project files. So you can pick load file, and you'll get a dialog box that says that it needs to turn on the mask, which is great. Go ahead and click to place it and go to Masking and Site. We're creating here a curtain wall, curtain system, but we don't want to use this one. So once you pick on curtain system, you can pick Edit Type and Duplicate so that you can give it a different name, whatever name you'd like to use. I actually decided to use a 10-foot by 20 feet, so I called it that. But if you think that it needs to be a different dimension, you can change that. And then here in that dialog box, I changed the grid spacing at 10 feet and 20 feet. And now I'm selecting here those faces that I can apply that curtain system to. You can do individually each one, or you can select all three of those and pick curtain system. It kind of applies that system. And now I'll go to the back side and do the same thing. Select here those three faces. And then pick Create System. Now this is a clear glass, and we have a choice of using shaded or realistic, but it's still transparent and it's a clear glass, and based on the project I think we need to make it a little more solid. So I use the tab key to select one panel, and then I'm going to pick Edit Type so that I can change the name of that system panel. I can pick Duplicate, and I just left it as Glazed 2, but I'm changing the material. So I can pick on glass and then right click and duplicate the glass material. We said earlier that the graphics tab is going to be for the shaded view and the appearance tab is going to be for the rendered or realistic view. So I'm just adding different colors so that you can decide on whether or not you want to use the shaded or the realistic. But under the appearance tab, we need to change this clear glass to a different type of glass. So I clicked on that bottom left corner icon that looks like a square with a blue on the top, and I'm using the appearance library to go to glass so that I can find that blue reflective material. So I believe I used the dark blue reflective. I double click on it. It becomes the appearance tab material. You can change the reflectivity of it. And here in the graphics tab, I changed the transparency so that it's a little bit more solid. But that only changed one panel because I only selected the one panel. So you can select everything. Just put a box around the whole thing. And then in properties, you can change that drop down to curtain panels, and it just selects the panels. And then use this properties drop down to pick your Glaze 2 system. Give it a minute and it updates and changes all the panels to that material or that style of glazing. And here I'm just showing that there is a difference between using shaded and realistic based on what colors that you decided for those two tabs, the graphic and the appearance tab. Okay, now I can draw a base And I just used the floor tool to draw a long rectangular base so that I could kind of get that view. But if you'd like to draw topography and use that, it's your choice. I used the floor system, and by selecting the floor before I finish it, I can pick edit type, duplicate that floor as always, and pick edit so that I can change the material of the structure. And in the same way, we are going to get into a habit of going to the default material, right-clicking and picking duplicate, and then changing the name to what you need for your project, or finding one that's similar that you might want to tweak, and right-click and duplicate it. So I made another one called grass. I think I did this in one of the earlier videos, and then changed the appearance in the graphics tab. And the appearance tab, again, I went to the appearance library and went under site work to find that grass that I wanted to use for the project. I think I used the blue grass, yeah. Double click on it, and then you can close out of here these dialog boxes. Apply it. You can change a lot of properties there too, but I just went ahead and picked OK, and then I picked the green check mark because I was changing the floor. And there's your color, a little different in the shaded and realistic, views, depending on what you used for your color. So this being a quick video, you can use topography if you'd like. I just threw in a bunch of trees here using component, and setting up a view. We can use here the graphic display options to either use an image or gradient background. That's something you might decide on. So if I have a bit of a cold, if you can't tell, sorry for any sniffing that's going on. Here it is, graphic display options. You can go under background and change it to gradient, or you can use a sky background also. But with the gradient, if I use white for the ground and then a blue for that next level up, it kind of makes it more of a gradient sky. There would be a slight difference between the shaded and realistic. So I'm adding this portion of the video to say that you can also create a camera view. If you create a camera view from somewhere here looking towards the building, you can adjust the crop region, and you can create a view that's similar to the image file. And then you can decide on what color background to use for your project. So when you're rendering, you can use the sky background. This is at the end of the rendering. I used medium, and it starts to look like the building a little bit more. But like I said, this is a quick video, so if you want to tweak it, that would be your choice for your building design. But this is one way to get that material on your building I noticed that you did a great job on what you did. So, good job. Here is another way that you can create your Shanghai World Trade Center. I'm saving the rendering to the project so that it's there when you submit it. I created a screenshot, so I press print screen, and you see I got the whole screen, and then right click and paste it into PowerPoint, and then I double click on it and pick crop in PowerPoint and crop that view that I like. I kind of set it next to the other one I did earlier that was a little bit darker and had the gradient background. So your choice, your project. Good luck. Have fun.